don't write this down, but think about, so in Algebra 1, if I gave you this, and you graphed it, what did you get?
A line.
A line. So you had a slope, you had a y-intercept, you graphed a line. Then I gave you this, and you graphed it, and you got a what? A parabola. So this, we got a line. This, we got a parabola, something like this, right?
Right.
How do you get a circle?
So now we're going to talk about the equation of a circle. And so at the very top, it gives you the standard form of the equation of a circle. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Now, parabolas, when you had them in vertex form, it looked a little bit like this. You had a, x minus h squared plus k, and so you would change your h, keep your k. But in a circle, because both of these are negatives, we have to change both of them. So our center is h comma k. So whatever number is here and whatever number is here, you change their signs, and that becomes your center. And then your r is your radius. Anytime that I give you a radius that is not a perfect square, I would like for you to leave it as a simplified radical. But if you're graphing, you're going to have to change it to a decimal to approximate. Okay? So when I go to number 1, it says identify the center and the radius. So when I look at this, my center is negative 3, 1. Change your signs. And your radius is 2. Because this number is r squared. Okay, what about when there's nothing here? Then my center is going to be what? 0, 3. 18 is not a perfect square, so we want to leave our radius as a simplified radical. So you take the square root of 18 and simplify it, and you get 3 square root of 2. Now, if I asked you to graph that, you would have to get a decimal to approximate the radius. I will never give you something, listen very carefully, I will never give you something that goes off a graph on a test. That's my pet peeve. So when Will Morgan brings me his test and he says, Miss Jackson, my radius is 25 and it will not fit on my graph. Guess what he didn't do?
Answer right.
He didn't take the square root. So if the number out there is 25, the radius is 5. So I'm never going to give you one that goes off the graph. All right, I want you to write the center and the radius for C. Don't tell me your answer yet.
Just the
center and the radius for letter C.
Why can't we just stick with doing that? Why do we?
Can we just do addition and subtraction? If we mastered that,
I'll sit over here.
Okay, so what's my center? Negative 8, negative 2. Well, I was tricky right here. Negative 2, negative 8. You got to put your X first.
Dirty.
That was dirty, I know.
So mean.
What's your radius?
6 square root of 2.
6 square root of 2. All right, easy cheesy lemon squeezy.
No.
That was not
That was hard.
cheesy or lemon
Wasn't hard.
squeezy.
So
No, that was cheesy.
That was
All right,
tricky.
so to graph a circle, what you're going to do is you're going to graph your center. So my center here is 3, negative 1. So go to 3, negative 1 and put a point. My radius is 2. So you're going to do 4 points. You're going to go up 2, down 2, then left 2 and right 2. Your circle does not have to be perfect, but it's not a diamond or a square. So you can at least make the effort to make a round shape.
No,
Okay.
I got in trouble back in 6th grade for my squares not being good enough. Because they were like circles.
Shine
what?
bright like a
It was
diamond.
She tore up my paper and threw it away.
I was in that class. It was hilarious.
And then she told me that I would never be successful if I kept doing that.
So,
I was
if you look at C again, you'll see that
That was not a good day.
put X and Y out of order. So please pay attention to what you're doing.
-2,
Okay, so let's just do C real quick. What's my center?
-2, -4.
-2, -4.
One looks like a diamond.
So if you had done this out of order and it went off the graph, then I would say to you, go check everything again.
She would have laughed at us.
Your radius is
Both.
I hate counting
and then draw your circle.
No, I would rather do Spanish.
Okay, easy enough?
Hold on, how are you getting? So what's the point of the 4 and the 2? Is that where it starts? I guess.
The 4 and the 2, that's your center. So my center is -2, -4.
And then the 4 for the center.
And then the radius is 4.
Like how far you go.
Nasty.
Got it.
These circles are like.
Are we doing
My
that?
first one was good. This one is.
I
My circles are garbage.
I would
Both of mine
rather
have
do-
been diamonds.
Oh, there's a back too. Yeah, Mrs. Jackson, my circles are brown.
All right, this bottom part says write the equation of the circle. So we're just doing it backwards. So what is the center here?
25.
1,
Oh,
2,
wait.
3, 4. 1, 2, 3. -4, 3. So when I put that in the equation, I do x plus 4 squared. This is always plus. This right here is always plus. Y minus 3 squared, and then it's radius squared. So the radius is 5. So you're going to put 25. All right, write the equation of that second one. Don't tell me your answer yet.
Just drop it. Oh, I so did that right.
Let's go, Garner.
I definitely did.
The radius isn't
Wow,
going to be a whole
Did you
number.
get
Not when you're
X
writing
minus
it.
one plus y plus 1 squared?
The only time I would do that is if I told you.
I got an X plus 1.
All right, so we're going to have x what?
Minus 1 squared.
X minus 1 squared plus
Y plus 1 squared.
y plus 1 squared equals
9.
9.
Nueve.
Oh no.
All right, go to the back.
Oh my gosh, it's a lot of numbers.
Okay, look at number 4. It says give the equation of a circle that is tangent to the y-axis and its center is -3, 2. Okay, well if its center is -3, 2, I can go ahead and start my equation. And I can at least get that far. So what do I not know?
The radius.
The radius. What does tangent to the y-axis mean? Going to touch it in one point. The radius is going to be perpendicular to the y-axis. So here's my y-axis, and I know that my center is 1, 2, 3. My center's right here. So if it's tangent, that's my center. If it's tangent to the y-axis, how many spaces is it from the y?
3.
3 spaces. So that means my radius is 3, so I put equals 9.
Exactly.
How? Wait.
If
what?
it's
What
What
did
do you
it
mean why?
If it says tangent to the x-axis, how far is it? 2. So my radius would be 2. So I put 4.
Miss J, don't you do -3 up 2?
You do.
Oh, I sure did.
Poor me, so.
I was confused. Okay, no, I'm not confused.
Good job, Ken.
Where do
Still
you-
the same thing.
Thanks, Ken.
From there? I was from the
I'm
Y.
going to the y-axis, so that's 3 over.
Gotcha. Then square.
But if it was tangent to the x-axis, it would be 2.
What?
And we'll do some more of those later. Okay, So that's all great and good, but sometimes we are going to be given an equation that is not in standard form, and we have to put it in standard form, which means we have to complete the square.
No.
So what we have to do first, we actually have to complete the square twice. So that's why we've been practicing completing the square. So I'm going to kind of talk through example 1, and then we're going to do example 2 together, and then you're going to try one. All right, so example 1, so you're going to have to do completing the square twice. So you're going to get your x's together, and you're going to get your y's together, and you're going to move your constant to the other side. We're going to complete the square, b divided by 2 squared, b divided by 2 squared, and we have to add it over here. But we don't actually have to take the square root of both sides because we just want to manipulate. Okay? So we're not actually taking the square root after that. We're just manipulating the equation. Okay? All right, so go to example 2. We're going to do this together. So the first step is you're going to put your x's together. I'll leave a little space. And put your y's together. I don't do the whole parentheses so that I can just do all that in one step. Put your x's together, put your y's together, move your constant to the other side, and leave a little space. Okay, so we have to do b divided by 2 squared. So what is my b value for the x? Negative 2. So negative 2 divided by 2 squared is what? 1. So we're going to plus 1 here. We're going to plus 1 here. What is your b in the y's?
3.
Your b is 6.
Yeah.
Divided by 2 squared is 9. So add 9, add 9. Then we're going to factor twice. But we don't actually have to factor, remember?
Manipulate.
We're just manipulating. So we're going to do x minus b divided by 2, which is 1 squared. This is always plus. That's never a minus in between these. Then it wouldn't be a circle. Y plus what?
3.
3 equals what? 20.
20.
So does it look how I want it now? So we stop here. So when we're completing the square, that's when we have to take the square root of both sides and get the answer. But we don't have to do that here. We're just forcing it to look the way we want it. So what is my center? 1, negative 3. And then my radius is the square root of 20, which is what is a simplified radical? 2 square root of 5.
So those other numbers don't even matter.
What other numbers?
Like I guess they do matter. Never mind.
All right, so
Yes.
you're going to do 5A. Please do not start 5B because it's different. So I want you to do 5A. I'm going to leave mine so you can see it. And you're completing the square twice, manipulating it, and getting your center and your radius.
We're doing both.
No,
Let's do it.
only A. right, so what's my center?
2, -4.
I got 2, -4. Do y'all like that answer?
I love it.
You know what? It is a wonderful answer.
And what's your radius?
Seems like he copied off of me.
5.
Those seem to be my answers.
Do I need to work it? Okay, what is the difference in 5A and 5B?
Oh, the
There's a variable in front of the x and the y.
Not a variable, but a coefficient. So there's a number in front of x and y. We don't like that. Because we can't complete the square when the coefficient is a number other than 1.
And there's not like
Okay?
there's not a just a
So-
something x either.
Then there's not an x either. There's only an x squared. Okay, so what?
Like move the 5 over and take the 4.
Because pause.
Pause.
We're pausing. All right. So step 1, I want you to get your x. I want you to get your y. And move your 5 over.
I'm looking at the greatest common factor here, even though we should just disclude the 5 and it can be 5 and 4.
We could. So that is one option. You could take out a GCF. You can make this 5 over 4. Okay? But what I want to do, because there isn't always a common factor. Like, what if these didn't have all common factors? I don't want to do that in this problem. So this guy, we're not going to complete the square with this guy. You should know now what your x value is. I mean, you should know right now what
It's 0.
it should be 0. Okay, but don't even worry about that yet. So he's just going to hang out over here while we deal with the y's. Okay? So you are going to take out a 4, but you're only going to take it out of this guy, and I want you to leave a space to complete the square. So you're only taking out the GCF of the y and leave a space to complete the square.
How can you divide?
What the heck?
You get 4.5, you can do that. I think it equals 18.
All right. What is your b value? 9. So we're going to do b divided by 2 squared. What is 9 over 2 squared?
20.
81
81
over
Wait, what?
81 over 4. So we're going to add
Oh, I lost my phone.
81 over 4. Do not write that on this side. 81 over 4. However, there's a 4 right here, correct? So we didn't actually add 81 over 4. We added 81 over 4 times 4.
Oh, baby.
So it's 81. So on this side, we need to add 81. Because when you took that GCF out, when you added that back in this parentheses, you added 81 over 4 times 4. So you actually added 81. Okay? All right, so this is going to be 4x squared plus 4. What's going in the parentheses there when I factor?
Oh, she said no.
She said nope.
No.
Y plus 4.5.
Okay, but we can't put it as 4.5. What do we put?
Just do 9 over 2.
9 over 2. So y plus b divided by 2 squared equals 76. It's always going to be b divided by 2. So you don't have to actually factor.
Surely is.
Is 76 divisible by 4?
We sure hope so. Yes, it is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You
she
definitely
did.
did.
19.
19. So we can divide all of this by 4 and get x squared plus y plus 9 over 2 squared equals 19. So I divided every bit of that by 4. So what is your center?
0,
Zero, negative
-9
9.
over 2.
0, -9/2.
I don't know about the radius.
And your radius is the square root of 19. You don't have to, you can't simplify that.
I didn't like that one. You know what these calculators should have on them? A
A
touch
knob.
screen and a clock. Out of everything that's on this.
Why do you need a clock, Ken?
Because I don't know.
So,
Why do you need a
let's
clock?
talk about this real quick. There's a couple of things. I'm going to tell you what you need to do tonight. So, first of all, if there is a number in front of your x or your y squared, you're going to have to pull that out. Now, sometimes you're going to have to do it twice in two different ways. We're going to do that next time. Okay? And so, when you're factoring these, even though these numbers may be ugly, this number is always b divided by 2 squared. This number is always b divided by 2. So I'm not asking you to factor something with a fraction because you're always doing b divided by 2. Okay? All right, if you glance down at the bottom, so 6 through 10, okay? Does 6a or 6b have a number in front of the x and the y?
No.
So we're just completing the square like normal, finding the center and the radius, and we're just graphing it. So that's easy cheesy.
Lemon.
Then I want you to go down here to these 4 at the bottom, and you're writing the equation. So you need 2 things to write the equation of a circle. What 2 things?
You need that center.
The center and the radius. So like on number 7, it says give the equation of the circle whose center is 5, -3. So I've got a center, check. What do I not have?
The radius.
The radius. So if you have a circle that has a center of 5, -3 and goes through the point 2, 5, how are you going to get a radius?
Count to 2, 5.
You have to get a line. Equation of a line.
Mm-mm.
Slow.
I need to know how far this is.
Oh.
You just count.
Distance, the distance formula.
Oh.
So the distance formula is going to give me the radius. Okay? Number 8 says give the equation whose end points of a diameter.
Why would it be that way?
What?
Like the circle. Why would 2, 5 be on
It
this
doesn't
side?
matter what it is. I was just doesn't matter.
Stop.
Okay, so if this is my diameter, what do I not have?
The center.
I don't have the center. What else do I not have?
The radius.
The radius.
You don't have a whole lot
Do
of
the
numbers.
distance and divide by 2.
Okay, we can do the distance and divide by 2. That would be the radius.
That's no fun.
What do I not have? The center. How am I going to get the center?
You just gotta do
Median.
Do the whole
median
count.
formula. The midpoint.
The midpoint formula.
You should just
So
assume.
the midpoint
I feel like
would
there
be
needs to
the
20.
center. Okay? So
Testies always ask for
I
questions.
never-
Thomas Coco does not want to do distance divided by 2. So once he gets the midpoint, what can he do?
Distance.
The distance between the midpoint and one of the other points. Doesn't matter which one. Okay, that's 9 and 7 are the same, and 10 and 8 are the same. So I feel like I've given you enough to work through this. So before I see you again, you're going to do 6 through 10. I would make sure that I knew the equation of a circle before I came in here.
Let's see if I do it.
X minus H squared plus Y
Literally
minus
what we just
H
did, Precious. Okay? It's
Ah.
on the front of the sheet.
I know it's called. I know what you're doing.
And I would be able to complete the square without a number in front of X or Y. So at this point, I feel like you should be able to work this problem, 6A or 6B, without my help. Okay?
Miss Jackson, can Thomas sit back here so I'll have a